Have you ever found yourself trapped in that relentless mental loop where someone's face, name, or memory keeps invading your thoughts, even though they haven't said a single word to you in days, weeks, or maybe even months? You're not alone. It's that ache, that pull, the invisible weight on your chest that wakes you up at night or distracts you during the day. Many of us mistakenly believe that if someone is always on our mind without communication, it must mean love, destiny, or some deep cosmic connection. But what if I told you that belief is a powerful illusion? What if the truth behind this mental loop is something far more revealing, something that goes beyond romantic fantasies and cuts straight to the heart of your own mind and emotional well-being? This is not just another feel better video or some superficial pep talk. This is a wake-up call, a deep dive into the mechanics of your thoughts, the nature of your suffering, and the keys to reclaiming your inner peace through Stoicism and Stoic relationships. The problem is urgent and widespread. You're not just thinking about them. You're renting space in a cluttered mental house that you forgot you had the power to clear out. How long will you let that silent presence hold you hostage? How much longer will you wait for answers that might never come? You see, our minds crave closure, not connection. They obsess over unfinished stories, unspoken words, and incomplete endings like a candle flickering in the dark. And until you face this truth, you will keep running the same tape, stuck in a loop that drains your energy and steals your clarity. But here's the good news. This isn't permanent. There is a way to break free. This journey is about shifting your perspective, rewriting your story, and taking back control of your own peace. It's about learning the ancient wisdom of Stoicism applied to relationships, where true power lies in mastering yourself, not waiting for others to validate your worth. You don't need someone else's words or presence to reclaim your fire. You were the fire all along. This is the kind of transformation that changes everything. Are you ready to stop renting mental space to a silent stranger? Are you ready to reclaim your mind and your life? If so, stay with me, because the truth about why they're always on your mind, even without a word from them, is about to set you free. Your mind craves completion, not connection. Have you ever paused to ask yourself why someone can occupy your thoughts so persistently, even when there hasn't been a single message, call, or sign from them in weeks, months, or perhaps even years? Why does your mind keep looping the same memories, conversations, or imagined scenarios over and over, like a broken record that refuses to stop? This isn't simply about love, attachment, or longing in the way popular culture would have you believe. The heart's aching is real, but the mind's relentless replay is driven by something else: the deep human need for closure. It's the story your brain is desperate to finish, the narrative thread it cannot let go of until it finds some form of resolution. This craving for completion is a psychological and emotional force so powerful that it hijacks your mental space, keeps you trapped in the past, and clouds your ability to live fully in the present. When the story between you and someone else ends abruptly, without explanation or finality, your mind refuses to accept it. It wants an ending, a chapter closed, a scene wrapped up in clarity, even if that ending is painful or disappointing. The mind is wired for patterns, for predictability, for a sense of order in the chaos of life. So when you are left in the ambiguous silence of no contact, no answers, no final words, your mental machinery shifts into overdrive. It tries to complete the unfinished narrative by filling the gaps, by imagining what could have been said, by replaying the last encounter, to find clues that never existed. This is why you hear their name echo in your thoughts, why their presence haunts your quiet moments. It is not necessarily because your heart still loves them, but because your mind refuses to tolerate an unresolved story. You might ask yourself, is this really about them? Or is it about me? Am I truly connected to the person, or am I caught in the web of my own mental loops? The Stoic perspective challenges us here to look inward, to recognize that the turmoil isn't caused by the other person, but by our own mind's inability to accept what has ended without closure. Stoicism teaches that peace of mind is not granted by external events or people, but by how we perceive and respond to those events. So, if your thoughts keep returning to someone who has gone silent, consider this: your mind is craving completion, not connection. This distinction matters deeply because it shifts the locus of control from the other person to yourself. Instead of waiting for them to return or explain, Stoicism encourages you to cultivate the strength to write your own ending, to create closure within yourself rather than seek it outside. In the realm of Stoic relationships, this means understanding that emotional dependence on another's actions or words is a fragile foundation. True peace arises when you learn to finish your story on your own terms. Ask yourself, what am I refusing to finish? What chapter of my life am I holding open because I hope for a different outcome? These are uncomfortable questions, but they are the gateway to freedom. Imagine your mind as a room with an open door that keeps letting in the cold wind of uncertainty. Until you close that door decisively, the chill will keep penetrating your peace. The act of closure is not about denying your feelings or pretending the pain doesn't exist. It's about accepting reality as it is and deciding to move forward despite the lack of perfect answers. This requires courage, a hallmark of Stoic virtue. It is easier to blame someone else for your confusion, to romanticize their silence, or to construct hopeful stories about their return. But in reality, this only prolongs your suffering. The silence, the absence, the unknown, they are neutral facts. The meaning you assign to them is what creates your pain. Your mind's craving for completion is natural, but can become toxic if left unchecked. So how do you begin to break this cycle? How do you stop the endless mental replay? It starts with awareness and acceptance. Recognize that your mind is stuck not because of love or destiny, but because it wants to finish what it started. Then, practice the Stoic art of focusing on what is within your control, your own thoughts, your own decisions, your own narrative. You hold the pen now. You have the power to write the ending, to close the chapter with dignity and strength. This is the essence of Stoic relationships, the understanding that true emotional resilience comes from within, not from the other person's presence or absence. So, as you reflect on why they're always on your mind, ask yourself, am I chasing a connection that no longer exists, or am I seeking to complete a story that my mind has left open? The moment you can answer honestly and decide to reclaim your story, the mental chains start to loosen. You no longer need the external closure to find peace because you create it internally. This shift is not just liberating, it is transformative. It changes how you approach all your relationships, how you relate to silence, absence, and uncertainty. You become the master of your own mind, the author of your own emotional fate. This is the power and promise of Stoicism in love and life. It is not about suppressing your feelings, but about transcending the helplessness that comes from waiting on others to finish your story. It is about embracing your role as the final arbiter of your own peace. And in doing so, you unlock a freedom few ever experience, the freedom to think clearly, to love wisely, and to live fully, even when someone remains forever silent. This is why, when someone is always on your mind without a word from them, it means your mind is seeking completion, not connection. It means you are ready to take back control, to close the door, and to step into a life where your peace is not rented, but owned. This understanding is the first step on a path of deep healing, profound self-awareness, and enduring inner strength. This is the truth that Stoicism offers you, a path from suffering to sovereignty, from confusion to clarity, from silent pain to empowered peace. 2. You're haunted by the reflection, not the person. When you find yourself endlessly thinking about someone who has fallen silent, ask yourself this: are you truly missing the person themselves, or are you missing the version of yourself that they once reflected back? This is a subtle but crucial distinction that many overlook, yet it lies at the core of emotional entanglement. It is a powerful insight drawn from Stoicism and the philosophy of Stoic relationships, that often what haunts you is not the individual but the mirror they held up to your soul. Think about it. When someone admired you, valued you, or made you feel alive, you may have felt like the best version of yourself. You stood taller, moved with greater confidence, and pursued your goals with fierce determination. That image, that energized self, became intertwined with their presence. When that presence fades, it's not simply their absence you grieve. It's the loss of that reflected version of yourself. You are haunted by a reflection, a beautiful, empowering image of who you were when they looked at you, not necessarily by who they really are. So why is this distinction so important? Because it reveals that your worth, your power, and your sense of self should never depend on another person's gaze or validation. The Stoics taught that external things are indifferent. What truly matters is your internal virtue and character. When you realize that the fire was always inside you and that they merely ignited a spark, you can begin to reclaim your identity from the shattered mirror they left behind. Ask yourself, who am I when no one is watching? Who am I when their reflection fades? Am I still worthy? Am I still strong? These questions confront the uncomfortable truth that we often borrow our sense of self-worth from others. But what happens when the mirror cracks and their eyes no longer reflect back that energized self? The pain is not just because they are gone, but because you question whether that version of yourself still exists without their validation. This is where many falter. They mistake the loss of the reflection for the loss of the person, and in doing so, they lose themselves. But the Stoic path calls us to a different response, a response grounded in reason and self-mastery. It asks you to look beyond the fractured mirror and remember that your worth was never dependent on their eyes. It asks you to become your own mirror, your own source of validation and power. Imagine standing in front of a mirror every day, feeling confident and alive, and then one day the mirror shatters. How would you react? Would you let your confidence crumble with the glass? Or would you find that the strength you saw in your reflection was always inside you? This metaphor is the heart of Stoicism applied to relationships. The external image is fleeting, but the internal flame endures. So, when you feel haunted by memories or thoughts of someone silent, consider this: you are not haunted by their presence, but by the absence of the reflection they gave you. This haunting can feel like a ghost that whispers doubts about your worth and identity. It tempts you to believe that without their gaze, you are less. But this is a lie. You are not less, you are whole. The challenge is to stop chasing a reflection that was never truly theirs to give, and to start reflecting back to yourself the value you have always carried. This shift is not simple. It requires courage and honest self-reflection. But it is the foundation of Stoicism's promise that you can find strength within yourself regardless of external circumstances. It also reframes your understanding of what it means to heal. Healing is not about getting that reflection back from someone else. It's about cultivating your own reflection, building your own inner fortress of worth. It means standing tall, even when no one applauds, loving yourself, even when no one looks. This is the essence of Stoic relationships, recognizing that no one else's gaze defines your light. So how do you begin this process? How do you stop being haunted by the broken reflection and start owning your own image? First, acknowledge the truth of your feelings without judgment. It's okay to mourn the loss of that reflected self. Grief is natural, but do not let grief chain you to the past. Next, practice seeing yourself through the lens of reason and virtue. Remind yourself daily, I am worthy, I am complete, my value is inherent and independent. Let these truths become your new reflection. Then, cultivate habits that reinforce this inner strength: journaling, meditation, deliberate self-affirmation, and acts of courage and discipline. These practices help rebuild your identity from the inside out. Ask yourself regularly, who am I without them? What kind of person do I want to be regardless of external validation? These questions will guide you toward a more resilient self. Finally, understand that this transformation is a journey, not a destination. It may take time to stop looking for your worth in another's eyes and to start finding it in your own. But every step you take toward internalizing this reflection is a step toward freedom, a freedom that Stoicism promises and delivers. When you reach this place, the silence of others no longer dictates your peace. The echo of their absence fades because you no longer depend on it to feel alive. Instead, you are alive because you have reclaimed your own light. You have become your own mirror, your own fire. You have embraced the fundamental truth of Stoicism, that your power lies within, and no external presence or absence can diminish it. If you are resonating with this insight, and you want to continue this journey toward mental freedom and strength in your Stoic relationships, then don't forget to like this video and comment number 1 to let me know you're with me. Subscribe so you won't miss the upcoming parts where we dive even deeper into mastering your mind and reclaiming your peace. This path is not easy, but it is the path to true power, clarity, and peace. Stay strong, stay curious, and keep moving forward. 3. Silence is not innocence, it's unresolved energy. When someone has gone silent, when there are no texts, no calls, no explanations, it's tempting to believe that silence means absence, that they are gone, that they have moved on, or that they no longer care. But silence is rarely innocent or empty. In Stoicism, silence is understood not as emptiness, but as energy unresolved, a presence that lingers in the spaces between words and actions. This unresolved energy is what keeps their memory alive in your mind, what causes those ripples in your emotional lake, even when the source of the disturbance is no longer visible. Think about a fire burning in a room. When the flames die down, the smoke lingers. You can't see the fire anymore, but the smoke still fills the space, hangs in the air, and affects everything it touches. That smoke is unresolved energy. Silence, like smoke, is not harmless. It carries weight, it holds tension. And when someone's silence follows a sudden departure, a broken relationship, or an unanswered question, it creates a vacuum that your mind struggles to fill. Your thoughts become the room, and the silence is the smoke that curls into every corner. You might wonder, why do I feel their absence so loudly? Why does their silence shout inside my head? The answer lies in the unresolved energy that you have not yet faced or processed. This energy manifests as unanswered questions, lingering doubts, and the need for explanation or closure. The silence becomes a language all its own, speaking in the dialect of absence, leaving you to translate its meaning, and often you fill it with your fears and hopes, sometimes wrongly interpreting it as rejection, punishment, or indifference. But here's the critical Stoic insight. Silence itself is neutral. It does not have inherent meaning. It is your interpretation, your stories about the silence that create the suffering. Stoicism teaches that external events or conditions, like silence, are neither good nor bad. They simply exist. It is our judgments and attachments to these events that cause distress. So, when you feel haunted or unsettled by someone's silence, the key is to examine your own assumptions. What meaning are you assigning to the silence? What story have you been telling yourself about why they stopped speaking, why they disappeared, why you never received an explanation? These questions are essential because they reveal where you are giving away your power to interpretations rather than holding it in your own perception. Imagine the silence as a mirror reflecting your own unprocessed emotions and unresolved questions. It is an invitation, not a punishment, to explore your inner landscape, to face the confusion, and to take responsibility for your own peace. The silence asks you, what part of you remains unfinished? What energy within you needs attention and healing? This is why Stoicism is so vital in navigating these moments. Stoic philosophy encourages us to accept what we cannot change, like another person's silence, while focusing on what we can control, our own reactions, judgments, and choices. The silence is not an enemy to fear, but a signal to observe and learn. Are you clinging to the idea that silence means rejection? Are you telling yourself that the lack of communication confirms your unworthiness? Recognize these thoughts as just that. Thoughts, not facts. When you stop assigning meaning to silence, you stop feeding its power over you. This does not mean ignoring your feelings or pretending the absence doesn't hurt. It means stepping back and choosing how you engage with your pain. It means deciding that your peace is more important than the story you've been trapped in. Furthermore, silence carries unresolved energy, not just because of the other person's actions, but because of your mind's tendency to loop on uncertainty. The brain seeks patterns and explanations. When those are unavailable, it spins in a cycle of what-ifs and maybes, prolonging emotional unrest. This cycle can only be broken by bringing awareness and intentionality to your thoughts. Acknowledge the unresolved energy, but do not let it consume you. Instead, invite curiosity and courage to meet it. Ask yourself, what is the silence really showing me? What have I been avoiding? What truth am I not facing? These questions transform silence from a source of torment into a doorway for growth. In this space, Stoicism's power shines brightest. It offers practical tools to observe your emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them, to accept uncertainty with grace, and to cultivate inner calm regardless of external noise. By embracing silence as unresolved energy rather than rejection or absence, you free yourself from its grip, you reclaim your mental space, and begin the work of healing and moving forward. This process also redefines your relationship with the past. Rather than being haunted by what was left unsaid, you start to see the silence as a natural conclusion to a chapter that no longer serves you. It becomes less about waiting for someone else to come back and more about taking ownership of your own story. You recognize that the energy left behind is yours to process, yours to transform. This shift is critical in Stoic relationships because it moves you from dependency to autonomy. It helps you understand that while you cannot control others' actions or silence, you can control your response. You can choose to release the tension, let go of the smoke, and breathe freely again. The silence, once a heavy burden, becomes a catalyst for your personal sovereignty. So, when the silence stretches long and the mind clamors with unanswered questions, remind yourself, silence is not innocence. It is unresolved energy seeking resolution within you. Your task is not to decode the silence, but to reclaim your power by completing your own internal process of healing and acceptance. This understanding is liberating. It means you do not need their words or explanations to find peace. You do not need their presence or permission to close the chapter. You are the master of your own mind, and you hold the key to transforming silence from a source of suffering into a springboard for growth. And as you move forward with this truth, you begin to experience a deeper sense of freedom, a clarity of purpose, and a quiet strength that no absence can diminish. This is the gift of Stoicism, a timeless wisdom that teaches us how to live well in the face of silence, loss, and uncertainty. 4. The pain isn't their silence, it's your confusion. Have you ever stopped to consider what truly breaks your spirit when someone you care about goes silent? Is it really their absence that wounds you? Or is it something far subtler, something that lives inside you? The answer, often overlooked, is that the pain comes not from the silence itself, but from the confusion the silence leaves behind. Silence, as we've explored, is a neutral space, an unresolved energy, but it is the stories your mind tells to fill that space that create suffering. This confusion manifests as unanswered questions, imagined scenarios, and the desperate search for meaning where none may exist. It is the mind's attempt to solve a puzzle missing its final piece, the attempt to make sense of what was left, unsaid or undone. You might find yourself replaying conversations, dissecting every word and gesture, asking why they stopped reaching out, why they vanished without explanation, or whether you did something wrong. This internal narrative can become a fortress of doubt and pain that imprisons your heart and mind. The Stoic perspective invites you to examine this confusion critically. Are you clinging to assumptions and stories that you have constructed yourself? Are you confusing your interpretations with reality? Stoicism teaches that much of human suffering comes from false judgments and expectations, especially those we place on others' behavior. When someone chooses silence, the mind instinctively fills the void with its own interpretations, often fueled by fear, insecurity, or hope. This is the confusion that tortures you, not the silence itself. The important question then is, can you step outside this mental labyrinth? Can you detach from the narratives you have created and see the silence for what it really is? This is no easy task, because your mind craves certainty, clarity, and control. But the truth is that life and people often offer none. Silence leaves a vacuum that can only be filled by your own acceptance and understanding. This moment is a test of your stoicism, the ancient art of distinguishing between what is within your control and what is not. Their silence is outside your control. Your confusion, your interpretation, your response, these are within your power. Ask yourself, am I choosing to hold on to confusion when I could choose clarity? Am I confusing my need for answers with the reality of silence? The pain you feel is real, but its source is your own mind's struggle to find meaning. Recognizing this distinction is the first step toward freedom. When you begin to see your confusion as a choice, even if unconscious, you open the door to change. You can begin to question your narratives. Are these stories true? Are they helpful? Are they kind? Stoicism encourages us to question our thoughts rigorously and discard those that do not serve our well-being or virtue. In this process, you start to untangle yourself from the grip of unanswered questions. You begin to realize that waiting for answers or explanations that may never come only prolongs your suffering. Instead, the power lies in releasing the need for those answers and embracing the uncertainty. This acceptance is not resignation or weakness. It is a courageous act of self-mastery. It is choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion. It is choosing to hold your own mind gently rather than letting it be a battlefield of turmoil. Moreover, this confusion often feeds deeper wounds of self-doubt and unworthiness. You might ask, did I do something wrong? Was I not enough? Did they stop caring because I failed in some way? These questions are common but corrosive. They erode your self-esteem and trap you in cycles of guilt and shame. Stoicism reminds us that our worth is not contingent on others' actions or opinions. You are valuable because of who you are, not because of how someone treats you or whether they choose to communicate. Recognizing this helps you to separate the confusion created by your mind from the truth of your inherent dignity. Another crucial aspect is understanding that confusion thrives in isolation. When you ruminate alone, your thoughts can spiral into darker and more tangled places. Stoicism, while deeply personal, also acknowledges the power of community and discourse. Sometimes sharing your confusion, hearing different perspectives, or simply articulating your thoughts can shine light on the shadows and bring clarity. So don't hesitate to seek wise counsel, whether from mentors, friends, or philosophical teachings. This does not mean outsourcing your peace, but enriching your understanding and grounding your reflections. As you deepen this work, you may find that the confusion begins to dissolve. The mind no longer insists on answers that do not exist. The silence is no longer a torment, but a neutral fact. You begin to live in the tension of uncertainty with grace and resilience. This is the freedom that Stoicism offers. Freedom not from pain or loss, but freedom within it. It is the ability to hold your own ground when the world is silent and uncertain. It is the strength to say, I may not understand, but I will not be broken. So, when you feel overwhelmed by the pain of someone's silence, remember this. It is not the silence that breaks you, but the confusion you allow to thrive. The path forward is not through more questions, but through clearer boundaries, kinder thoughts, and the steady cultivation of inner peace. It requires a daily commitment to examine your mind, to question your narratives, and to choose clarity over chaos. And as you walk this path, you build a foundation for healthier Stoic relationships, not based on dependency or illusion, but on respect, self-mastery, and genuine connection with yourself and others. If this message resonates with you and you want to continue exploring how to master your mind and reclaim your peace, then please like this video and comment number 1 to show your support. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights rooted in Stoicism and the art of Stoic relationships. Together, we will continue this journey toward freedom, strength, and clarity. 5. Your mind isn't obsessed, it's unhealed. Have you ever found yourself trapped in the relentless loop of thoughts about someone who has gone silent, convinced that your constant mental replay is proof of obsession? That these repeated thoughts mean your love or attachment runs so deep, it cannot be broken. This is a common misconception, one that many wrestle with silently. But here's a profound insight rooted in Stoicism that can change everything. Your mind is not obsessed. It is unhealed. This distinction is crucial because it shifts the focus from a flawed notion of uncontrollable obsession to a compassionate understanding of unresolved inner pain. The mind doesn't keep replaying memories and thoughts because it enjoys them or because it is hopelessly attached. It does so because something inside remains wounded, incomplete, and in need of healing. Imagine a thread dangling loose from your shirt, a small, seemingly insignificant thread, but when you feel it against your skin, you cannot stop touching it. You twist it, pull at it, and try to smooth it down. This thread irritates you, distracts you, and demands attention until it is either removed or sewn in. Your mind behaves similarly with unhealed wounds. The recurring thoughts are like that loose thread, an irritation born from incompletion. It is not obsession in the romanticized sense, but a signal of inner fragmentation seeking repair. When someone disappears without explanation or leaves an emotional rift, the mind struggles to make sense of it. It does not know how to rest because the story lacks closure and the wound remains open. The pain is not just emotional, but cognitive, a conflict between what was hoped for and what actually occurred, between expectations and reality. This cognitive dissonance creates tension that the mind attempts to resolve by looping through memories and scenarios. These loops are not expressions of a healthy connection, but symptoms of unresolved trauma or confusion. This is where Stoicism offers profound healing guidance. The Stoics understood that pain and suffering often arise from false judgments and attachments to what is outside our control. Your mind's repetitive thoughts are a manifestation of these attachments, not to the person themselves, but to the idea of what you wished they were, to the expectations you held, or to the meaning you assigned to their actions and silence. This realization allows you to approach your mental loops with kindness rather than condemnation. Instead of labeling yourself as obsessed or weak, recognize that you are healing. The mind is trying to fix the unhealed part of your soul. This perspective changes the internal narrative from one of helplessness to one of empowerment. Ask yourself, what part of me remains unhealed? What wounds am I avoiding? What truths have I yet to face? These questions open the door to self-awareness and intentional healing. Healing begins with acceptance, accepting that your pain is valid, that your confusion is understandable, and that the process takes time. It also means acknowledging that healing is not about erasing memories or feelings, but about integrating them into a coherent story that no longer controls you. In Stoicism, this integration happens through the practice of rational reflection and emotional discipline. You observe your thoughts without judgment, distinguish between fact and fiction, and gradually reframe your relationship to your pain. Another powerful aspect of this healing is recognizing that the mind's looping is a call for clarity and closure, but these cannot always come from external sources. Waiting for apologies, explanations, or reconciliation may only prolong the wound. True closure must be cultivated internally through acceptance and self-compassion. The process often involves confronting uncomfortable truths about the relationship, about yourself, and about the nature of human impermanence. Are you ready to face the parts of your story you have been avoiding? To sit with your discomfort and witness it without fleeing into fantasy or blame? This courageous facing is the essence of Stoicism. It is the path from fragmentation to wholeness. It is the recognition that your mind is not your enemy, but a messenger. Its repetitive thoughts signal what needs attention. Listening to these signals with patience and wisdom transforms pain into growth. As you deepen this work, you may notice a shift. The thoughts become less intrusive, the emotional charge diminishes, and your mental loops lose their power. You start to experience moments of peace and clarity where once there was only turmoil. These moments are signs of healing. They indicate that the loose thread is being mended, that the wound is closing. Yet, healing is not linear. There will be setbacks and days when the mind seems to return to old patterns. This is natural and expected. Stoicism teaches perseverance and resilience. Each day you return to your practice of reflection and acceptance, you build stronger mental muscles. You become less reactive to the echoes of the past and more anchored in the present. This resilience is the foundation of healthy Stoic relationships. Relationships not based on dependency or illusion, but on mutual respect and inner strength. So when you find yourself caught in endless mental replay, remind yourself, this is not obsession. This is your mind calling for healing. You have the capacity to listen, to heal, and to move forward with dignity and grace. This truth frees you from shame and guilt. It invites you to treat yourself with compassion and courage, and it aligns you with the core principles of Stoicism: acceptance, self-mastery, and growth through adversity. As you walk this path, you will discover a deeper connection to yourself and a greater capacity to engage with the world from a place of strength rather than need. Your mind's loops will no longer define you. Instead, they will become part of the rich tapestry of your resilience and wisdom. This is your journey from unhealed pain to empowered presence, from mental captivity to freedom. And it is a journey worth taking, one step at a time. 6. You were the fire, they were just the spark. When someone leaves your life, but their presence continues to flicker in your mind, it is easy to believe they were the source of your vitality, your motivation, your light. You may feel as if they were the reason you woke up early, pushed harder, or believed in yourself. This belief is seductive, but it is a deception that Stoicism invites us to see through. The truth is that you were the fire all along. They were just the spark that ignited it. This realization is not meant to diminish the significance of the connection you once shared or the moments of inspiration it brought. Rather, it is a call to reclaim the power that is inherently yours, independent of anyone else's presence or approval. Imagine a vast forest, alive with trees that stretch miles into the horizon, their roots deep and strong. A single spark can ignite a wildfire that spreads rapidly and powerfully, but it is the wood, the wind, and the oxygen that sustain the blaze. Without these essential elements, the spark alone cannot keep the fire burning. Similarly, the spark someone else provides can kindle your passion and drive, but it is your own inner resources, the strength, discipline, and will that fuel the ongoing flame. When that spark is gone, if you have relied solely on it, you may feel the fire flicker or even go out. This can lead to despair, self-doubt, or a sense of emptiness. Yet Stoicism teaches that true fire, the kind that endures through silence, absence, and challenge, burns from within. It does not require constant stoking from external sources because it is rooted in your character, your purpose, and your values. You might ask yourself, why did I need their presence to feel alive? Why did their attention become the fuel for my ambition? These are hard questions, but they are necessary for growth. They invite you to examine where you may have outsourced your power, where you allowed your worth or motivation to depend on external validation. This examination is not about blame or regret. It is about honest self-awareness and the willingness to take full ownership of your life. To be the fire, you must first recognize that the flame was yours before anyone came along to light it. You chose to burn brighter when they were watching, but you can also choose to burn brightly when no one is watching. This choice is the essence of Stoicism, cultivating internal virtue that is steady regardless of external circumstances. Consider the candle burning in a quiet room with no audience. The flame glows with or without applause, not because it seeks approval, but because it is the candle's nature to burn. So it is with you. Your light does not depend on an audience or their gaze. It is part of who you are. This understanding frees you from the illusion that you need someone else to sustain your fire. It liberates you from the fear that without their presence you will fade. You do not need to perform for others to feel worthy or alive. You were born with this fire, and it is your responsibility to feed it, protect it, and let it shine. This responsibility is a profound gift and a powerful challenge. It means showing up for yourself consistently, even when motivation wanes or the world feels silent. It means making choices that align with your values and goals because they matter to you, not because anyone else is watching. This internal commitment is what creates lasting strength and resilience. It is what Stoicism calls living according to nature, being true to your own rational and virtuous self. As you embrace this truth, you begin to see the patterns that kept you tied to others' attention. You recognize where you borrowed light and where you dimmed your own. This awareness allows you to break free from dependency and step into autonomy. It also deepens your capacity for genuine connection. When you are not seeking validation, but coming from a place of wholeness, your relationships become healthier and more authentic. You engage with others not from need, but from abundance. You offer your light without expecting it in return. This shift is transformative. It changes how you approach love, friendship, and all human connection. It grounds you in your own power while opening your heart to others in a balanced, mature way. The process of becoming your own fire is ongoing. There will be moments when the spark seems far away or the flame feels weak. This is natural. Stoicism encourages perseverance and patience. Each time you recommit to your inner light, you strengthen it. You learn to tend your fire with wisdom and care. You understand that setbacks are part of the journey, not the end. You also learn to celebrate your progress, however small, and to treat yourself with kindness along the way. This practice builds a foundation of self-trust and confidence that no external silence can shake. So when you feel the echo of someone's absence, remember this: you were the fire, and they were just the spark. The fire was always yours to nurture, and it will continue to burn brightly as long as you choose to feed it. This truth is liberating. It empowers you to reclaim your life, your goals, and your peace. It invites you to stand tall and shine with or without an audience. As you hold this truth close, you align with the deepest teachings of Stoicism and Stoic relationships, a path of self-mastery, resilience, and authentic living. If this message speaks to your heart and mind, if you feel ready to step into your own power and light, then please like this video and comment number 1 to let me know you're with me. Don't forget to subscribe to stay connected as we continue exploring the art of mastering your mind and reclaiming your peace through Stoicism. This journey is not easy, but it is the path to true freedom, strength, and clarity. Keep your fire burning bright. You are your own source of heat, light, and power. As we come to the close of this exploration, it is important to reflect on the journey you have taken, one that moves from confusion to clarity, from attachment to autonomy, from silent suffering to empowered peace. The experience of having someone always on your mind without a word from them is not a sign of connection or love as commonly believed. Rather, it is a profound signal from your own mind and heart, revealing unfinished stories, unhealed wounds, and the deep human craving for closure. This understanding, drawn from the timeless wisdom of Stoicism and Stoic relationships, offers not just comfort, but power. It shifts the locus of control from external forces, another person's presence, absence, or silence, to your own reason, virtue, and choice. The truths you have encountered here are not easy to face. They challenge long-held beliefs about love, dependency, and self-worth. They ask you to confront uncomfortable questions. What stories have I been telling myself? How have I borrowed my worth from another's gaze? What parts of my mind remain unhealed and unresolved? These questions may stir unease, but they are essential steps on the path to freedom. Stoicism teaches that the mind is a garden and your thoughts are seeds. If you nurture confusion, fear, or false narratives, you will harvest suffering. But if you cultivate reason, acceptance, and self-mastery, you will grow peace, resilience, and clarity. This process requires vigilance, courage, and patience. It requires the willingness to examine your inner world honestly and the discipline to choose your responses wisely. The silence that once felt like a punishment or rejection becomes a mirror reflecting your own growth and power. You begin to understand that silence does not define you. It is your interpretation and reaction that shape your experience. You learn to stop chasing reflections in others and start becoming your own reflection. You recognize that the fire you thought was sparked by someone else was burning inside you all along. This internal flame, nurtured by your values and purpose, sustains you when the external world grows quiet. You also learn that your mind's looping thoughts are not signs of obsession, but markers of what remains unhealed. With compassion and reason, you listen to these signals and take steps to integrate and heal. You move from being a passive victim of your thoughts to an active author of your story. This journey is not linear or easy. There will be days when old patterns return, when doubts creep back, and when silence seems louder than ever. But each time you recommit to your own peace, each time you choose clarity over chaos, you strengthen the foundation of your inner fortress. You become less dependent on external validation and more anchored in your own dignity and virtue. This transformation ripples beyond your own mind. It reshapes your relationships by grounding them in authenticity and mutual respect rather than need or illusion. You learn to engage with others from a place of abundance, not scarcity. You build stoic relationships that honor both your independence and your shared humanity. Ultimately, the power to change your experience lies within you. No silence, no absence, no unanswered question can take that away. Your peace is yours to claim, your story yours to write. As Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher and emperor, taught us, the obstacles we face are opportunities to practice virtue and strengthen our character. The ache you feel is not a weakness, but a call to greater self-mastery. It is an invitation to rise above circumstance and embody the wisdom of Stoicism in your daily life. So as you move forward from this place of understanding, carry with you the affirmation that you are not defined by others' silence, but by your own response. You are the steward of your mind, the guardian of your peace, and the author of your life's ending. This is the path to true freedom, a freedom not dependent on external conditions, but rooted in the sovereignty of your own reason and virtue. May this truth guide you, steady you, and inspire you as you continue on your journey. The silence you once feared is now the space where your power grows. The reflection you once sought in others is now reflected in your own steady gaze. You are whole, you are strong, and you are free. This is the gift of Stoicism, the legacy of Marcus Aurelius, and the promise of your own becoming. May you walk this path with courage and clarity, knowing that your peace depends not on what others say or do, but on the mastery you cultivate within.